Am I the a-hole for calling my wife a jerk after she humiliated our son in front of his crush? Hi, Reddit. Buckle up. This story spirals from a simple family conversation to a full-blown social disaster, and it's left me questioning my marriage, my parenting, and what it really means to protect your kids. I'm a 37-year-old dad. I've been married to my wife, also 37, for nearly 2 decades. We have 3 kids, a 14-year-old son, who we'll call Sunny, and 2 daughters, 11 and 8. Sunny is your average 9th grader. A little awkward, fiercely private, but overall a good kid. Recently, my wife noticed he'd been hanging out with a 10th grade girl, Tina. She teased him a little. "Is Tina your girlfriend?" Sunny immediately shut it down. "No," he said, "I like someone else." That someone else? A girl named Chris, 14 in his grade, and from what I've gathered, she's sweet, a bit shy, and yes, according to Sunny, heavier than the other girls, has acne, and dresses like a tomboy. He didn't say it cruelly. In fact, he also called her pretty. He just explained honestly why he hadn't told anyone. He was worried his friends would mock him. My wife seemed to understand. She nodded, said nothing else. Cut to the weekend, Sunny invites over a group of friends. 5 boys, Tina, Chris, and another girl. They're in the living room playing games, eating snacks, laughing. Everything is going fine. Until my wife walks in. She looks Chris dead in the eye and says, casually, cheerfully, like she's commenting on the weather, "Chris, did you know Sunny has a huge crush on you?" The room went silent. Chris froze. Her smile dropped. She looked at Sunny, waiting for a punchline, but there wasn't one. She stood up, grabbed her bag, and left. The rest of the kids followed shortly after. The mood was ruined. Sunny didn't say a word, but every door he touched that night got slammed. His room, the bathroom, the kitchen cabinet, slam, slam, slam. That night in bed, I told my wife she was a jerk. I said, "You embarrassed our son in front of everyone?" Her response? "I was trying to stop him from becoming a bully." What? She said that because Sunny mentioned Chris's weight and acne, even just factually, he was body-shaming her. She thought outing his feelings in public would force him to own up to it and not be ashamed. I said, "There are better ways to teach empathy than blowing up your son's social life." She just stared at me and asked, "What if one of our daughters were in Chris's position?" Then she hit me with, "If we were in high school together, would you have been ashamed to date me?" That night she slept in the guest room, but things didn't end there. Tina's mom called me a few days later and gave me the full story. Chris was devastated. At first, she thought it was a cruel prank. When Sunny told her it was real, that he did like her, but didn't want anyone to know why, she said she couldn't be with someone who was ashamed of her. And honestly, who could blame her? Chris isn't just embarrassed. She's hurt. The rest of the friend group? Some thought it was a joke. Others are genuinely weirded out by my wife. One parent won't let their kid come to our house anymore. Sunny hasn't spoken a word to her since. He refers to her as your wife when he talks to me. Not mom, not my mom, just your wife. He told me he goes to Tina's mom now if he needs to talk to an adult. He said he can't trust me either if I won't keep things from your wife. I showed my wife this post. The replies, the edits, the comments. She read a lot of them, and while she says she hates Reddit, she agreed to therapy, both individual and couples. And that's good, because I learned something else. My wife was badly bullied in school for her weight and skin. Those wounds never healed. And when Sunny admitted what he did about Chris, she saw herself in that girl. She admitted she blurted it out because she was afraid Sunny would hide his feelings forever, and maybe choose someone more conventionally attractive, like Tina. Here's the kicker, though. Chris eventually forgave Sunny. Tina, being the MVP of this whole mess, helped patch things up. They're even planning a date now, but the rest of the kids won't come over anymore. They hang out at Tina's. Our house? It's off limits now. One of the boys who was there that day told his parents everything. Now he's not allowed over at all. Tina's mom told Sonny he's always welcome at their place. I thanked her. She's done more emotional labor than either of us deserve. I told my wife about Sonny and Chris's date. Her response? I told you so. She thinks she won. That this proves she was right. She's living in a fantasy. That night, I had a long, hard talk with Sonny. He didn't yell, he didn't cry, he just looked tired. He told me that he can't talk to her anymore. That he doesn't feel safe being vulnerable around her. That he has to compartmentalize his life now. And that maybe I should start doing that too. And that's when it hit me. My wife is no longer just my partner. She's a co-parent I need to keep an eye on, for my children's sake. She used to be stable. But the moment she caught wind of some high school drama, it was like she regressed back into a mean, insecure teen girl. I love her. I want her to heal. But my kids are my top priority. And right now, they don't trust her. And neither do I. What do you think? Was I wrong for calling my wife a jerk? Was she justified in what she did? Or did she let her own trauma poison a moment that could have been handled with care and compassion? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more real-life Reddit stories posted every single day. Because sometimes, real life is messier than fiction. Thanks for watching. Am I the a-hole for telling a relative at family lunch that my ex-wife and I broke up over an investment? I, 60-year-old male, was at a family lunch last Saturday, catching up with some relatives. One of them, a fellow second-generation Italian, started reminiscing about the old Italian community spots in town. Naturally, the old trattoria came up. It used to be a beloved meeting place for Italians until the owner, a close family friend, passed away about 5 years ago. After he died, my then-wife, 57-year-old female, had what I'd call one of her visions. She's always had grand, often impractical ideas. Years ago, she blew over $5,000 of our shared savings on a sailboat she never used. We spent even more renting a barn to store it, for years. So when she said she wanted to renovate the restaurant into a cultural hub, part art space, part event center, part cafe, I assumed it was another passing whim. But then Marco, 51-year-old male, an old artist friend of hers, got involved. Suddenly, the idea had legs. My wife became obsessed, and eventually I got dragged into it too, emotionally, physically, and financially. I ended up investing about $15,000 and spent nearly every weekend working on it after my 9-to-5 job during the week. Somewhere in the chaos, Marco's brother Nico, 47-year-old male, joined the project. He had just moved to town and didn't have a place to stay, so my wife insisted we let him crash in our spare bedroom temporarily. That temporary stay turned into something a lot more permanent, and things at home quickly became tense. Nico and my wife spent an uncomfortable amount of time together, even when there was no restaurant work to be done. I'd come home to find them drinking wine in the kitchen, watching movies, whispering and laughing like teenagers. While they insisted it was innocent, the vibe was off. Later, after our divorce, they officially announced they were together. So, yeah, maybe I wasn't imagining things. Meanwhile, the restaurant was bleeding money. In 2 years, we never made a profit. I was working my ass off, I mean for free, while juggling bills and worrying about our 2 kids who were just starting university. I also didn't have a job for 3 years not long before all this, so I was already walking a financial tightrope. The stress was constant. Fights with my wife, tension with Nico, and even drama between Marco and Nico over how the project was being managed. Eventually, I hit my breaking point. I told my wife I couldn't keep funding a project that was draining us, financially and emotionally. Things fell apart quickly after that. The business folded, the marriage followed. So, back to the lunch. While chatting with this relative, I casually mentioned that the restaurant investment is what ultimately ended my marriage. I didn't go into deep detail, just made an offhand remark. But my daughter, Ixa, 22-year-old female, who was sitting nearby, clearly caught it. She later asked me to step outside for a smoke. Once we were alone, she lit into me. She said I was rewriting history, making it sound like the entire divorce was her mother's fault, that I was implying her mom cheated with Nico, even though our marriage had been deteriorating long before that. She accused me of conveniently leaving out my own part in what happened, how I was absent, obsessed with the business, and emotionally unavailable. She reminded me that she and her brother had to watch their family crumble from the sidelines. I tried to explain that yes, things were bad before, but the investment really was the final straw. It was the moment when everything that was broken became undeniable, but she wasn't having it. She walked off saying, "We'll talk about this at my next therapy session." Now I'm left wondering, was I really being an a-hole? I wasn't trying to badmouth my ex or rewrite history. I just shared my perspective. But maybe, to my daughter, it sounded like I was deflecting blame, painting myself as the victim in a story where I played a much bigger role in the unraveling. So, am I the a-hole for telling a distant relative that my marriage ended because of the investment? Or is it just more complicated than that? In my opinion, yeah. I think you were kind of being an a-hole. Not necessarily with bad intent, but in how you chose to tell the story. The way you framed it, you made it sound like the restaurant investment was entirely your ex-wife's idea, that she roped you in, wasted your money, and then emotionally cheated on you with Nico. Your daughter was right. You were part of that story too. You agreed to the investment. You let Nico live in your home. You spent your weekends there. You made choices. So it's not just the investment ruined my marriage. It was a series of shared decisions, miscommunications, financial strain, and emotional distance. Plus, airing that version of the story in front of your daughter, especially if it felt one-sided, probably reopened old wounds. Even if you didn't mention cheating directly, you implied enough for her to feel defensive of her mother, and that's understandable. That said, emotions are messy, and hindsight is even messier. It's clear you've been through a lot, and maybe this was your way of trying to make sense of it all. But that's just my take. What do you think? Was OP the a-hole for sharing his version of events at a family lunch? Or was he just being honest about his experience? Drop your thoughts below. I'd love to hear how others see it.